Hi all. So, part 3, let's try to finish these guys here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to build up from what we already have here. Right now our face is kind of, they're reminiscent of like African masks at the moment. And that's cool, but we want to give it some more details so they feel a little bit more human-like. So I'm going to start on the eyes and then I'll work my way down. And we'll go around. Alright, cool. So to start with the eyes, I think I'm going to use this vellum for my eyes. And I think I'm also going to put gold at the center of my eyes. Now this is definitely a style choice, so it's up to you if you want to go in and put white in the eyes, make the eyes look more, make them look more human-like, but I think I'm going to stick with gold. Just to stick with this color palette. So again, I'm folding my paper in half, right? We're always making sure that we are cutting 2 of something when we need 2 of something. There's no need to do double the work, right? You gotta work smarter, not harder, as they say. So right now I'm taking my paper and I am mapping out on my eye where my eye is open here, and because I'm using a vellum I can see through it. I'm gonna go on to the other side and match it up to make sure it's large enough on this side as well. Alright, the goal is to get your face as symmetrical as you can, but if you can't get it symmetrical, it's okay. Most of our faces aren't that symmetrical, so don't worry about it. So, how am I making my eyelids? So you want to cut out an eye shape just like this. Then I'm simply going to cut it in half, going in one direction, and then I'm also gonna cut it so it's more concaved here. So then when you open those up, righty. Make sure you have them in the right direction. So those are what my eyes are going to look like, okay? And then I'm going to put some gold in the center. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come from behind to do that. So I will show you that after I install these eyelids. So I'm going to use a Mod Podge, as I've been using. As you see here, my Mod Podge set up with all of my nice little pre-ripped blue pieces of painter's tape. So I'm going to rip them up even more, even smaller, so I can use these to hold the eyes together as the glue dries, right? Because it is going to be difficult to get a paper clip or something like that in that space. So go in with the tape. Go in with the blue tape, because the blue tape, the chance of it ripping is a lot less. So I am installing this under eye lid here. Hold it for just a second. See how I'm starting to fill up that space there. So I'm just going to take, I can even rip this in half again. You really don't need big pieces of tape to hold these corners down, just to make sure that they hold. So these are not going to be here very long. I just put them here while I put on my second lid, my bottom lid on my other side. So I might have to wait to put my top lid on for just a bit, and while I wait for my glue to dry on my bottom lid, I will start building up my nose. Okay, so we might need to move around depending on dry times and all that. So again, just installing there. And your first couple faces, I won't I don't think that you're going to be able to really get different expressions on their faces quite yet. Your first couple times building with paper, it definitely took me a while to start being able to express different emotions and feelings on paper faces. So don't get discouraged if you feel like you really want to do that and it's just not coming out the exact way you want. It will in time. Okay, you will. This is definitely a skill you just get better and better at. All right, so now I'm going to make my nose. I'm going to keep my little eyelids to the side. And this is the first time you only have to make one of these. All right, no more doubles. So with your mouth and your lips, things are a little bit different. So with this nose, depending on the shape of your nose, it's gonna depend on the amount of folds you do. For my shape of my nose is fairly flat here. I've made a second one for our example, and we have a much wider nose, so, not wider, pointier nose, so you can play around with that. I am creating a person with a quite flat nose, so what I'm doing is I'm going to fold it in half, and then I am drawing here at the bottom essentially what I want my nostrils to kind of look like. Okay, and then I draw outside my nostrils, and everything's a little bit wider than what they will perceive onto the three-dimensional shape. Okay, so I will cut this out now. You can fold it in half, I guess that makes it a little easier, and then it'll be symmetrical. Now you have a nose like this. So there's a couple ways you can work. Again, you can work through folds. So it depends on the shape of your nose. It depends on how wide you want the nostrils. But you're really just gonna let the nose mold a bit. And don't be afraid to move it around and around, right? And you're really letting it rest right onto the structure that you built. Okay, so you can see it there. So we have this piece now. And again, we're not gluing any of these pieces down because we're still waiting for our under lids to set. So now I'm gonna move on to my lips. And I'm gonna debate what I want my lips to be made out of. I think I want them two-toned. So I will put, one lip is going to be this darker brown and the other one will be this color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them both just so I can make sure proportionally they make sense. Right? And just draw the full, can you see it on that page? Let's see, let's do it on this side. You just want to draw out the lips how you want them. I make them a little bit larger than what you want. It's always good to have them larger. You can cut them down, but you can't make them get bigger. So I am cutting this out now. And I cut my lips separately, so right now they're one solid piece, but I will cut them apart. So because of that, you might get a little bit of a funny shape on your bottom lip. So I'm just going to round it out. So They feel more like full lips here. And it's nicer when they're separate, like I said before, because then you can kind of you can play around a little bit with the expression here. So here are my lips. All right, I want to make a couple more pieces before we start putting this piece together. So I'm gonna make some pieces that go over here to fill in the rest of the head. I'm also going to make some pieces here that fill in the cheeks. So these pieces I will be installing this one on top, and these ones are going to be installed on the bottom. Okay, so I will show you how I do that. So for these really curvy areas, I do like to use a more tissue paper like material paper. So it's up to you what you want to use. Like I always say, it's up to you how you want to go about this. I'm showing you one way. There's other ways to do it. So I'm just really using the scrap piece, making sure that I can use as much of it as possible. Okay, line it up. All right, I'm always drawing just a little bit outside of what I think I need. Like I said, it's better to have more than less when it comes to paper and cutting your pieces. You don't want them to be too small. So I'm just going to cut this down a bit. Just clean it up. That piece there, perfect, fits. So I have these here, and then I'm gonna go underneath. I'm gonna use again another tissue paper like paper here. I'm gonna go from underneath this time. So again, just sketching out approximately where I need to be. Alright, this is not scientific measurements by any means, it's just kind of giving you an idea. You want to give yourself an estimated guess, a good, nice, educated guess. So that will fit right in there for me. Perfect. Alrighty, so we will get this piece together in just the next clip. I forgot one thing before we put things together. We want to make ears, of course, ears. So again, whatever paper you want to use, ears, there's 2 of them. Almost, folks, not everyone. You just want to give yourself a little proportions of where everything's going to go. I have big ears, so I tend to make my ears fairly big on my people. I feel like we need to represent big-eared folks out there. But you can, of course, create any size ear that makes sense to you. Gonna cut it in half here. Okay. So now my ears. Now let's put this head together. So I have my ears. I have under my cheeks here. I have the rest of my head, my nose, my lips, my eyelids, and what will be my eyes. I should cut those out too. So I'm just going to cut out essentially half circles for my eyes. I just like to make them a little bit longer so they can be glued from the brow line that we use in our actual skull. So those are my eyes. And we'll probably be making some eyebrows, and of course hair is something we can discuss as well. But that is very much a custom aspect of the piece. Alright, so I'm going to start with the top of the head. The reason why I like to use more of a tissue paper like or handmade papers is because they will sculpt to the surface a lot cleaner. All right, they don't fold, they mold. So I'm just getting glue all over the perimeter of this piece here. Adding that piece right here, and just like that. Can fold down the edges, right? Get a nice clean fold. So it's up to you how much you want this piece to overlap with your eyebrows. I mean your these extra extended eyelids. You know, you can move it. You have a little bit of time to move it if you do want to, like I do. So you can do that with your Mod Podge. But you don't want like this more structural piece to be kind of like poking out. So I like to just put a little glue here. If you're getting a little poke right there, just glue that down. You can use your brush to help you push that down. All right, and that's why we use the matte Mod Podge, so we're not getting a bunch of gloss on our paper right now. Got that piece. Let's do our second piece now. So it is important to make sure that you are gluing on the proper side, right? It's always good to double check before you install a piece of paper. Even triple check if you need to. With this paper, it's kind of easy to do a quick peel off with the glue, but some papers can be tricky to peel it off when you add Mod Podge already and you already have a bit of moisture to your piece. So it's good to be sure about where things are gonna go. Just gonna fold that piece over. Okay, and I'm just laying that piece down. Okay, so it's up to you how much you're gonna fold this down, because this obviously can be covered with hair or a hat depending on who you're making. If you're making someone bald like me, you probably want to make sure their head looks really nice and normal shaped. All right, so we have these pieces here. Now we're gonna go interior, and we're gonna make sure we're matching up our pieces in the right direction. Okay, so I have my interior cheek here, making sure I'm gluing on the right side. Okay, and I'm then gonna install it just right here. So again, I'm getting a little glue action on the outside here, but it's okay. The Mod Podge is great and it will save us from it looking ugly or glossy. So again, I'm just making sure I'm in the right direction here. So once you really get your structure made, this part becomes the fun part, you know. Putting the pieces together, finding out how they all fit together nicely. All right, this is a puzzle you like made for yourself, a custom puzzle, and you're the only one that knows what it's supposed to look like at the end. There's no box cover, so make it as beautiful as you can. All right, so now I'm gonna remove my pieces of tape here. And then I'm gonna install my nose and then my lips. Okay, so I am going to use my brush to move my paper a little bit. And I'm not too worried about this little bit of gap that I see here because that's where my nose is gonna go, so not to worry. Okay. Now I want to install my nose. Figure out where it's gonna go. That feels right. So I'm just putting glue at the top, like the bridge of my nose, so there's a little bit of ability for me to kind of play around and maybe bend my paper a bit more. This can make my nose look a little bit wider. Maybe I want it to be a little pointier. So I am going to use a little bit of tape to hold down this nose. And while we're waiting for the nose to dry, I will install the lips. So I'm going to put the bottom lip on first. I'm going to let that one sit a little flatter. And I'm going to put my top lip on top, of course, but I'm going to try to put a little bit of a curve to it. So what I'm going to do is I should just exclusively put the glue on the corners of the lips here. So it's almost like you're making a bridge with your lips, just so there's a little bit more volume in them. So far, this is what you're looking at. My light's super bright today, so I hope that people can see what's going on. I will also take photographs afterwards so you can see it 2D. All right, so I'm gonna make my ear, I'm gonna finish up my ears now. So all I do is just I fold the edge a little bit just so there's a little bit of a stick out. You don't want an extreme stick out unless you're, making someone with really big ears that stick out. And you're just gonna put it right on the edge of the jaw there. So when you bend it, it can become more pronounced, or you can leave them back. Okay, I'm gonna add tape for this one. Do the same on the other side. And it is important to make sure that you are matching the location on both ears. You don't want your ears, one ear to be up and one ear to be down. For the most part, our ears tend to be symmetrical where they're located. But a lot of folks don't have the same ear on both sides. So that doesn't mean your characters have to either. So if you need to get a little creative to finish your piece up to make it make sense for you, then don't worry so much about everything being symmetrical as you're working. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna put on my eyelids, or first I'm gonna put in my eyes and then I'm gonna put in my eyelids. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to add a little glue to the top of this gold piece, and it's essentially going right in here. so you can see it right back there. Okay, so now you can see it right in there. Do the same to the other side, and then we're going to install the top lids, and then we're done. Of course, hair is an option, and we can discuss that in person. But this is the general outline of how to build a paper head. It's also nice to make sure your eyes don't feel too cross-eyed. So make sure they're in the same general vicinity, same area. Okay, and I am gonna install my eyelids now as my nose and my ears are still drying. I'm just gonna put that eyelid right on top there. Hold it in place for a second. And then putting over the top lid. And lids to your eyes can really, change the emotion on your face. It can really start making this character look like someone or associate them with a group of people, a racial makeup. So think about how you're going to make your eyes. So I'm just going to hold my eyelids in place. Like that. I'll do the same to the other side. And I will post photos of the finished piece here when I remove all my glue. All my tape. I can't remove my glue. And I would never want to remove my glue. Okay, so I'm gonna put in my last eyelid here. And I'm just gonna tape my last piece in place, and I'm gonna leave it like that to dry. So I'm just gonna put that one right over there. Alrighty. So my scaffolding face right now is has some band-aids on. But this is our finished product, okay? I don't know, I just flipped it over like that. This is right side up, you can see that. And I will post pictures so you can see the full construction. Okay? I hope this video was helpful.